There's something that has always worried me. Every time I think about it, I seem not to really understand or come to a logical conclusion. Do you think that there is a grand conspiracy, a carefully crafted pattern by the
West.
Western world to keep
Nigeria,
Africa
underdeveloped.
underdeveloped?
You see, I've addressed this issue on different occasions and at different fora. Let me tell you, anybody who is a no top dog wants to have another top dog. It's a natural law. And if you're waiting for a top dog to relinquish his top dogness for you so that you become a top dog, it's not going to happen. Do you know, or not that you know, Europe have been fighting against the rise of China for hundreds of years. You get it? There was a time China was so prosperous that China locked its doors against every other person. It was Europe that went there and keep on knocking, keep on begging until they opened it. The Opium War you hear about was not necessarily about opium, but it was about control of trade. The Silk Road trade. And one of the things that led to that war was control of tea. I've written about it, how England sent spies, missionaries into China to steal the tea plant. And when they stole it, they took it to India and Sri Lanka. So all this thing you hear about Ceylon tea, Sri Lankan tea, all those, they were stolen from
China.
Because then they were also in charge of India, Sri Lanka, Ceylon. They were all British territories. So they felt that they couldn't plant it in their own soil. Let them plant it in a place that has the same the soil texture of China. Planted it. It led to a war. War twice. It's about trade. So you see that Africa is keeping itself down. But that does not mean that there are no policies out there to push Africa to remain where it is. There are policies out there that are not necessarily, it's not, these policies were not necessarily crafted to, okay, let's keep them down. No. But some of these policies, some of the outcomes of these policies are also keeping Africa down. Let me give you an example. People talk about this, they say aid, nobody grows by getting aid from a country and this kind of thing. Why aid did not help Africa was partly because of the structure of the aid package. Let me give you an example. Let me say Germany, for example. If Germany comes out and announces that they're giving Nigeria $100 million for its rural development project, and you hear the news, you think that they've transferred $100 million to Nigeria. No. That $100 million you hear about, whatever that project, rural project is going to, you're going to use, whatever equipment or something you're going to use for that rural project, they will send it from Germany. When they send it from Germany, they minus the cost from the $100 million. Then the experts that are going to help to design the structure of that aid will come from Germany. They'll be paid from that. And majority of them will come. They will go to Hilton and Sheraton and those kind of things. If they're going to stay there for
as long as
they're going to stay, The money is going to come out from that. Then, if they're going to use cars, they will send in cars from their country, and these cars will have import waivers. Now nobody's going to pay duty on them, and it will come from that money. You get it? So by the time they get to the real fund that you need to this, you find out that about 25% or about 30% of the money made is what is available. Others have gone into running costs. There's this lady from Zimbabwe, Dambisa Moyo. She wrote a book years ago, Dead Aid, whereby she highlighted some of the politics surrounding this aid and all this kind of thing. So that's why when China came with their own style, if China said that they're going to give you $200 million, they'll give you a bridge. They'll build a bridge. Use that money to build a bridge. You get it? That's their own aid. But in that bridge they're building, the engineers used to come from China, but now CCECC is here. Then you have some of these Chinese companies. That's how most of these Chinese engineering construction companies entered into Africa. When they came to deliver on some of those aids, after the delivering, they didn't go. They sit down here, set up shop, and started looking for contracts and started building contracts. You get it? But it behoves on Africa. They say that you cannot shave a man in his absence. And no man can climb on your back unless you stoop down for that person. So Africa is holding Africa down. And I have over 100 examples. Let me say, I have covered the African Union Heads of State Summit. I started when it was Organization of African Unity. My first coverage as a journalist of that event was in 1999 in Lome, Togo. That was the first time I met Muammar Gaddafi. Then from there, we were invited to Libya when he was launching the Little Green Book, where he wrote about how he's going to transform Libya and transform Africa and that kind of thing. So from 1999 till today, I've been covering the African Union Heads of State Summit. So when it comes to development issues concerning Africa, I will say that I have a little knowledge and have a little understanding. I've seen those policy papers. I've been there where it was discussed. I've followed these things from 1999 to now. You know how many years it is. Every year. There's no one I've covered the IMF World Bank for 25 years. There's no IMF World Bank annual meetings that I've not attended in 25 years, wherever they're doing it in the world. So I have a little understanding about development too. I have a little understanding about the politics of development. And I have a little understanding about the politics and economics of policy making. Africa is holding itself down. This year, we celebrated the ECOWAS, 50 years of ECOWAS. Have you asked yourself, what has ECOWAS achieved in 50 years? I have driven from Lagos to Dakar, crossing all the countries. From here, across Benin Republic, enter Togo, cross Togo, enter Ghana, cross Ghana, enter Cote d'Ivoire, cross Cote d'Ivoire, enter Liberia, cross Liberia, enter Sierra Leone, cross Sierra Leone, enter Guinea-Bissau, enter Guinea, enter Senegal. How many countries? I've done it. So I can tell you that the concept of the free movement of persons and goods that ECOWAS signed 30 years ago is not working till date. It's not working. If you're moving, I was in Cotonou on Tuesday. For the last 3 months or so, I've been having events that take me either to Cotonou or to Lome. I'm driving, I'm not flying, so I know what's happening on the road. If you move from here to Cotonou to Seme, you can count 1,200 trucks, lorries, both containerized and non-containerized, that have been there. Some of them have been there for more than a week to clear them to move goods from one country to another. It takes more than a week. Some have been there. Some of them, I've spoken with some of the drivers. They've been there for more than 10 days. So if you're moving a good from Nigeria to, say, Ghana, you know how long it stays? Who factors in the cost of doing business along the West Coast region? Then when you move from Cotonou towards there, you go to Ilakonji, it stays there. From Ilakonji, it enters Togo. By the time it enters, you go to Aflao, it stays there. I have done all this. You know, sometimes when I read what people sit down in front of their laptop and write and all this kind of thing, I'll tell them that I can name every border post from Lagos to Gambia by road, whichever road you want us to follow. I can name every border post one after the other, and tell you what happens and what to expect. This thing that we are calling ECOWAS super highway. There is no super highway anything. There is no super highway anything. Some countries have better roads than the others. There are some places you go, it will be bush road. If you enter into Liberia, some places, if you don't have a 4-wheel drive, you won't pass. 50 years of ECOWAS. Yet, South African, the SADC region, Southern African Development Corporation, is not up to 20 years. About 20-something years it was founded. The ease of movement between South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Zambia, all those places is faster. Is 100% faster than with ECOWAS. Yet ECOWAS was founded in 1975. They're celebrating 70 years. What have they achieved in 70 years? That's what you ask yourself. Do you know? Let me shock you. A lot of people don't know. Do you know that if you travel from here to Ghana, the law says that as an ECOWAS citizen, you can stay for 90 days, right? Do you know that if you're coming, they will ask you how long you're going to stay? When you look at your stamp, so many people don't look at their stamp. When you look at your stamp, you find out that they'll give you about 1 month. Travel from here to Sierra Leone or Liberia or Senegal, go and check.
Instead of 3 months.
And confirm. And if you overstay, in some countries, every day you overstay is about $50. So this is so I mean, I'm now you want me now to believe that it is the West that is doing us. Okay, let me give you another example. There's what we call the Yamoussoukro Accord. The Yamoussoukro Accord is a policy paper signed for open skies, which means that all the hurdles between airlines moving from one country to another is reduced. We remove all the taxes, all the costs in components, and all those things we pay and all those kind of things. So that if an airline can move from Nigeria to Ghana, from Ghana to Liberia, from peak passengers, let it be an open sky. Everybody be participating. This thing has been there. It's for more than 30 years. Yeah, about 30 years or so. It's been about 2000. It was signed in 2000. Up till now, they have not implemented it.
That is 25 years.
They have not implemented it. Do you know that it is, in some places, it is cheaper to fly from here to London than to fly from here to Sierra Leone?
Hi.
Sierra Leone is 3 hours. London is 6 hours. Do you know?
Now that you're talking about it, you see, yesterday I read that Ibrahim Traoré, the leader of Burkina Faso, declared Burkina Faso visa free for Africans.
Yeah.
And you've been consistent with this, advocating for an open boundary. This
Yeah. Borderless
artificial,
Africa.
yeah, these artificial boundaries is a whole lot for us. So I want to ask, do you think with the likes of Ibrahim
Traore.
Traore, do you think that democracy has helped us or it has imprisoned us?
No, you see the issue. I try to be careful when I debate about issue of democracy. There's something I said years ago. That was about 8 years ago, 7 years ago. I studied a lot of countries, and I came to the conclusion that in the last 60 years or in the last 50 years, no country has broken the poverty and development barrier from being a poor, underdeveloped country to a developed, advanced country through democracy. None. None. I was at a conference and I challenged everybody in the conference. I say, give me an example of one single country that was able to defeat poverty, defeat ignorance, defeat underdevelopment, become technologically advanced, become infrastructurally advanced, gain high literacy rate
Through democracy.
through democracy. None. But over 20 countries have been able to break this barrier, but they didn't do it through democracy. South Korea did not do it through democracy. The person who was the leader of South Korea was General Park. The daughter later became president some time ago. General Park was the man under whose tutelage that the chaebols were formed in Korea. The chaebols made up of LG, which is Lucky Ghoster, Samsung, Hyundai, or people call it Hyundai anyway. Hyundai, Daewoo, and there's one other. There's supposed to be about 5. They call it the chaebols. That was what Obasanjo wanted to copy when he established Transcorp and said that Transcorp will be a special purpose vehicle whereby other companies, large conglomerates will be formed. When you go to South Korea, you will see toilet seater that was made by Daewoo. You will see doors that were made by Samsung. But if you're here, you think that everything about Samsung is about electronics. But when you go to South Korea, you will see that they are also a furniture maker. They also build houses. You will see that Hyundai also build ships.
Not just cars.
Yeah. You see that Samsung build other things. These are conglomerates. That was a launch that changed the face of state capitalism. What did they do? They got people together, funded them to set up businesses with Korea threat, Korea culture, Korea mindset, Korean everything. Look at where South Korea is today. But you know something I used to tell people, I say, look, democracy and poverty does not mix together. For a country to be responsibly democratic, that country should first and foremost have a certain level of literacy rate, one. Also have a certain level, a lower level of poverty rate, two. And also get to a certain level of high standard of living, that people will want to protect that standard of living by not voting in a stupid person. If you have a large number of your people still willing to sell their votes for 2,000, democracy cannot work for you. You get it? And these people have nothing to lose. So they just sell their vote for collect 5,000 and go and tell you, say, what is it? That was why even in the earlier days of thought development about democracy in Europe, they didn't have universal adult suffrage. Not everybody could vote, because the idea then was that if you don't have anything at stake, you have no right voting. Because if you don't have anything to lose by voting in a bad leader, it means that for you, any leader can go. Let those who have something to lose be the ones that vote. That was when, until you have universal adult suffrage. In places like England, it was people who have land, who have businesses, who have this thing that can vote, because they believe that if you have something at stake, it will influence your thought about thinking for the betterment of the community, of the society. That if you have something to lose, you won't vote for anyhow person.
And you won't be easily bought too, as it is in
Yeah,
Nigeria.
like, so I mean, if you have a company that's worth 1 billion, will you go and collect 5,000 to vote for somebody? No. So that's where the challenge of democracy is. And over time, there has been, apart from South Korea, Chile was the third country in the Western Hemisphere to join the Organization of Economic Development, OECD country, which is an organization of 26 most prosperous nations on earth. Chile defeated poverty under General Pinochet. It wasn't democracy. It was General Augusto Pinochet that invited the 50 economists, what they call the Chicago boys, from Chicago Business School, to come and design the Chilean economic mandate. So those economists came from Chicago and worked with the Catholic University of Chile to design the template that launched Chile from a backward country, a backward poverty-ridden country, to a distant. Brazil, the Plano Real that launched Brazil into an industrial giant, was designed by Roberto Cardoso when he was the Minister of Finance. It was under a military dictatorship. They designed it. Are you talking about China? Are you talking about Taiwan? Are you talking about Vietnam? Now, are you talking about United Arab Emirates? Are you talking about, look at Qatar, look at Singapore. I'm giving you examples of countries that have scaled this. None of them did it as democratic. Yet we have example of some of them, after becoming rich, then they imbibe democracy. Like Brazil, like Chile, like South Korea, you know. But first and foremost, it wasn't democracy that launched them into
It got to the point where they were ripe for democracy.
democracy. Yeah, a country gets ripe for democracy.
Got it. All right, Mercy, your question, and then two of you can go and invite two other people.
Okay then. Thank you, sir, for
Just draw the
session.
mic to your mouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
In anywhere I come from, there's this saying they call Obanje, whereby for instance, if the Ogbanje possesses a lady, the lady will find it so difficult to get married, or if eventually the lady gets married,
they have a spirit husband and
spirit husband and spirit wife. So I want to know, as a well-traveled person, is it an ethnical belief, or is a worldwide something? How can we be free from religious slavery?
Well, this is a very complex question in the sense that it doesn't have an answer.
Okay.
But it can only get an explanation. Yeah, because I used to ask sometime a few years ago, I went home, I was addressing the villagers. There's something we are doing. I was addressing. Then you know what I asked them? I say, how come our beautiful young girls are no more Obanje
As they used to be.
as they used to be. Before, any beautiful young girl, before you know it, she will start acting somehow, and they start doing. I say, how come now we don't have Obanje anymore? You know, a people's belief dictates what happens to them.
Okay.
When people believe in certain things, and also there was an industry. There was an industry that Obanje was feeding an industry. You know, they have the in my place, they used to call it Owumiri industry, whereby you have all those women that go to the river
Yes.
and they put all those things, and they have their own shrine. It's women, you know, those women that are in charge of some of those things. Owumiri and all. It was an industry. And for you, if you understand the economics very well, you understand that those women also, they need to feed. They need to be in business.
And there need to be a problem for them to be in business.
That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm saying. They need to solve a problem. But that does not invalidate people's lived experiences. Because even inside the city, you hear this issue of you know, spirit husband, spirit wife, and all those kind of things.
Yes.
You know, some things, there are certain things you cannot argue against if you have not experienced it. You get it?
Yes.
Because sometimes you ask yourself, why will such a woman be having this kind of experience and all this kind of thing? Why will she be saying this? Why will she? But you cannot invalidate it. You cannot cancel whatever she's saying outright if you don't know what is happening to her. She is the one who has that experience. She's the one who knows. I spoke with a young lady, you know, she was my friend. She used to tell me, as I say, this man you talk about, does he come in the daytime or does he come in your dream? She said he started coming in the dream, but there were sometimes he comes in the daytime when she is alone. I say, are you sure you were sleeping? Or, you know, you can be, you know, this REM. You know, you can be in a period of REM whereby things will happen to you. You think it's in real life. You don't know whether it's in real life or it's in a dream. You don't know whether this thing happened in real life, you know, when you're having a rapid eye movement. And, you know, let me give you an example. Growing up, you know, this thing that presses you down when you're sleeping and won't allow you to do it.
Yes.
I suffered
it.
I suffered for it. After some time, when I came to Lagos to do my youth service and those kind of thing, I went to, they say it's a spiritual and those kind of thing. I suffered for it. This thing tormented me for years until the day I subscribed to Psychology Today. And I started reading about rapid eye movement. And I started reading about how your inability to move from your wake state to your sleep state. There's an in-between between your awake state and your sleeping state, where we call REM. That in-between, you start hallucinating as if something is pressing you down. And that place, you want to open your mouth to talk, you won't talk. You want to open your mouth to run. You want to, you know, stretch your leg to, as if you are being tied down with something.
Wow.
Then I delved deeply and studied it more and more, and understand. I studied into the science of sleep, understand a lot of things that happen about sleeping, and how that region, that in-between region of whether you are, you know, there are some people who can stand up from their bed, go to the toilet and pee and come back while they're still sleeping.
That is correct.
Their eyes are still closed. They will open the door, climb the staircase, do all these things and come back. Rapid eye movement. So when you study some of this, you find out that a lot of things happen to the mind that you can't just explain. But it was after I got the knowledge from a scientific point of view, that was when that rubbish stopped tormenting me. Okay. Knowledge is liberating.
That is correct.
When I got that knowledge that this thing is not spiritual, it's not maybe I was sleeping with somebody and that person put his leg on top of me, or it's not that there's one spider somewhere that is doing this and that's what is dragging me. It was when I got that knowledge from a science-based psychological point of view That's when I knew that, and that's when it also, when I want to sleep, I prepare myself to sleep. And when I prepare myself to sleep, I make sure that I studied about sleeping, the study of sleeping. I studied about how from my own, if there is light in the room, I will not sleep. If there is light entering from the curtain or this thing, I will not sleep. So when I go to bed to sleep, I make sure every light is, even charge all these charging ports. I don't buy a charger that has a
Light.
light, a blinker. I don't have anything that has a blinker in my room.
Okay.
Everything goes off. And when I want to sleep, I leave my phone in the sitting room. So nothing. So, and when I started doing this thing, I found out that I could control my sleep. So that's how knowledge can liberate us from some of these things.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
You
you.
say something. Can I ask him a question?
No, you've asked enough. Bring in two people again.
Okay.
Both of you can go. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Sorry, there's no time for most of these questions. So, Messi. Sorry. Yeah. So, the next question I want to ask is, sometimes when I think about the things that happens in this world, the injustice, the inequality, the war, the poverty, the hunger, and all of these vices that we suffer as human beings, sicknesses and all of that, I ask myself, who should we blame for it? Should we blame ourselves, or should we blame God that sits silently and watch without doing anything about it? So who do you think we should blame? Is it ourselves?
It is not.
Or God, who is so powerful that he could change all of these things, and yet he's not doing
even
it?
God that is so powerful that can change everything also told you that he has given you the earth to go and dominate the earth. It was in the Bible. It's in the Bible, not it was. To go out there and dominate, have dominion over everything. So, which means that the earth, a friend of mine, Kuti Shofumade, there was a time we were discussing some of this. He told me, he said that the earth is the playground of men. It's not God's business. That's why, that's where I got this. And God does not get himself involved in who you elect in your elections. God is not involved in your elections. God is not involved in your football. You get it? If you elect a good man. After all, the Bible made it clear that when the righteous rules,
the people
rejoice. There's prosperity. But when the evil man is in power, there's gnashing of teeth. It's clearly in the Bible. So if the Bible can make this thing clear, it should tell you that God does not have a hand in who rules you and who does not rule you. It is men that decide who rules you and who does not rule you. That's one, at a national and subnational level. Okay, let me give you an example now. If you go to Abia State now and ask everybody in Abia State, how do you rate your governor? You will find out that the answer they will give you would be different from the answer they would have given you 5 years ago. What happened? The people of Abia State elected someone who seemed to understand what governance is all about, even though he is not perfect, but he seemed to understand what governance is all about, and he seemed to have a way of delivering governance promptly. That's it. This is where they are now. See, now people can go see everybody going talking about good roads, talking about like a street light and all those kind of things. That Abia is this, Abia is this, Abia is this. So when you talk about states that are poorly governed now, Abia has left
The WhatsApp
the
group
WhatsApp group where Benue and Kogi
where they
and
used to be
Imo
admins.
and all those kind of things. Yeah, they were the admin of that WhatsApp group. They've left it. So you see that kind of thing. That's how that's at that level. Then secondly, there is also geography. You know, I used to talk about that geography is destiny, and a lot of people don't seem to understand it. Geography is destiny. That is the way it is. Let me give you an example. Do you think that if you were born in Zamfara, you might be where you are today? But that does not mean that there are no people born in Zamfara that are doing better than you. But for every individual, your environment is the major determinant of where you will be in your future. Because your environment gives you your school. Your environment gives you access to healthcare. Do you know how many people who could not walk because they lived in an environment whereby they had this this thing we've eradicated it now, that used to
Arthritis.
that used to make people, that used to affect people's
Polio.
poliomyelitis. If you were born in a village or an environment where poliomyelitis were so rampant and the burden is so much, and it affected you, your entire life, your destiny has already changed. Another thing is also, if you were born, say, in Sokoto, it affects your religion. And your religion has a way of influencing your choices in life. You get it? That's how geography is destiny. So it affects people one way or the other. People who didn't have schools around their villages, and they didn't have what it takes to walk far, or even in a village where I grew up, having a bicycle in the family, a bicycle that is free, that you can use to ride to go to a secondary school that is far from your village, is a determinant of how far you can go. So many younger people could not go to secondary schools that are far. They couldn't afford the living burden in a boarding house, and they didn't have a bicycle. Not having a bicycle, they didn't go to school. That's environment. If you had that school just a walking distance, haven't you noticed that people who have schools walking distance to their homes are far more, have a higher level of literacy rate than people that didn't have schools very close to where they live? Let me explain to you. Even in highly advanced societies, geography is still destiny. There was Condoleezza Rice, former Secretary of State of the United States of America. In her book, she said something. She said that if I look at a child's zip code, if I look at the zip code where a child is born, I can look at the zip code and I tell how far that child can go in life. Zip code is just like if this is state now. Because in that zip code influences the school the child will go to. And it's not just the school. You know, there's this concept of a good school with a bad teacher and a bad school with a good teacher. Which one influences the child more?
And then the students too.
That's what
the people you meet.
That's what I'm telling you. We did a study in Lagos 4 years ago, and we found out that the farther a secondary school is from the main center, either in the island or in the mainland, the poorly run that secondary school is.
Would be.
So the schools you see inside Yaba, Surulere, Ikeja, Festac Town, Lagos Island, VI, Ikoyi, these schools are better managed, they are better run, and their students are also more intelligent, and their students also have more access to other things. When you see their students, you will know those schools were better than schools you find in Ikorodu, you find in Abula Ado, all those kind of places, Janiki, and all those kind of things. Which means that the farther a school is away from where the world sees, because one, no good teacher will want to be posted there. You're getting this? A top-ranked teacher will not want to be posted there. She want to be posted at Methodist Girls High School, Yaba, or State Anglican Girls High School. You know those kind of other schools around, or King's College or Queen's College and all this. That's where she want to be posted. And because they don't want to be posted there, the teachers that are there are those that will be there. They'll come to class and they'll be maybe be eating granola because there's class quiet. The children will be doing what they like, and the teacher will have the attitude of "I no kill myself" attitude. So you see how environment influences. Then you go and get a school in Badia. Have a school in Badia, whereby there are street clashes almost on a weekly basis and all those kind of things. It will affect the kid. A kid that was born in Badia is not the same as a kid that was born in Central Surulere. They are not the same. I'm using Lagos because this place I know, and same thing happens in everywhere. I remember when we were growing up, want to go to secondary school. From where I come from, in Mbisenden, every parent want their child. We had about 5 boys' school, 5 girls' school, and 2 old Miss school with St. Patrick's and the Paternoster. I know. So we have it. But every child wants his son to go to Mbisen Secondary School or Mbisen Girls High School. Because these were the old days. They will say, I went there. And because your father went to that school, your father is an old boy or your mother is an old girl of that school, most of the teachers who are teaching there were old students from that school. Their zeal, the way they want the school to be, they want the school to maintain its steez. This is known for it. They want it. And some of the people who are also in government, either in the Ministry of Education or in positions of authority to influence government impact on education, went to that school. So they will be able to supervise and make sure that school, whenever there's anything that they're sharing or that school gets it first. So it's geography, it's destiny. But we also have geographical determinism. You get it? You have geographical determinism and you have geographical possibilism. I don't want to go too deep into this thing. When you talk about geographical determinism, is yes, this is where I was born. I did my best, but my best is not good enough because of this environment. I did my best. When you were passing through during your time, there were so many kids that were coming first in primary school. You get to secondary school, you didn't see them again. There were so many kids that were coming first in secondary school. They didn't go to university. I know a guy that did A1 in secondary school in mathematics, did A1 in additional mathematics, A1 in physics, but he couldn't go to university. You get it? because the mother couldn't raise, was it 25 naira to buy jam form? You get it? I know so many kids that drop out because they couldn't get 35 naira for WAEC form during my time. 1987, WAEC form was 35 naira. You might think, 35 naira. 35 naira, that was what some families could not raise it. So if those kids lived in states where the government were paying for the work of everybody, you see how geography, their destiny would have been changed.
Yeah.
You get it? I grew up, I was a kid at a time when rally bicycle was being sold for 90 naira. How many people in my village had rally bicycle then? Only one man had a Mercedes Benz. 3 people, 544 saloon car, 2 Beatles. So when you come to church on Sunday, you see, we know everybody, we know everybody. Then you see bicycle. How many people had the bicycle? Having a bicycle then could change a family's fortune. You could go to a good secondary school that is far because there is a bicycle in your. You see, people don't see these things because people don't think deeply. They don't understand these things from a deeper perspective. That's why they keep on, they talk anyhow, they do anyhow, but they don't know. There are things within your power. There are things that are outside your power. So when you talk about possibilism, I had 1 or 2 friends that had to go to construction site to carry cement and carry block. One of them that was a close friend of mine, I followed him once to keep him company and do that thing. That was how he raised his WAEC fees. That's geographical possibilism. When you rise up and say, no matter what, if I die, I die. But it's not everybody that has that zeal and that opportunity. And because somebody achieved it and you use it to judge another person, it shows also that you don't understand certain nuances about human beings. So these are how geography influences your destiny, influences everything you do, and affects you, both your religion and everything. Okay, let me give you an example. Do you know that it's not medieval, in England, do you know why the Protestants in Europe, do you know why the Protestants had upper hand over the Catholics? It's religious. But nobody has sat down to analyze some of these things. The Protestants were more educated than the Catholics. Do you know why? The Protestants were allowed to read Bible
Themselves.
The Catholics were not reading Bible. The reading of the Bible, at that time, the Bible was the only book you can see in a family. You come into a family, the only thing they have as a book was the Bible. So families that were able to read Bible develop a reading culture earlier than families that didn't read Bible. And you can see, when you look at the map of Europe, you will see how Protestant countries developed faster and better than Catholic countries. That was why the Scandinavians took off. Germany, Britain, Austria, Netherlands, Norway, all of them took off. Whereas Spain, Portugal, France, Italy were struggling because they were the Catholic countries.
Mm-hmm.
You get it? The Industrial Revolution, Calvinism was a Protestant Protestant concept, a mindset about work, the work ethics, the Protestant work ethics. that that people started learning from business schools and all those kind of things. This thing came from church, came from the Protestant church, the Protestant ethics. The Catholics didn't have this opportunity. That was why England had upper hand. And then the things that happened in Ireland when they were fighting for their liberation and independence from Britain, and they had so many. Is a deep, religion is deeper than a lot of people understand. Do you know that there was a time, if you're a Catholic, you're not allowed to work in Guinness in Ireland and in Britain because you're a Catholic. You're not allowed to work in Guinness in Ireland and Britain because Sir Arthur Guinness then was a Protestant.
So you needed Protestants, not Catholics.
Yeah, yeah. So even if I go deep into Arthur, the Guinness itself, the philosophy behind the company itself, if I go into it, won't live here today. It's a study on itself. But I brought this thing up so that you also know how divided some of those countries were as at then. And to also know that the kind of division we are also seeing today, some of the primitive divisions we're seeing today in Africa and in our country, Nigeria, shows the level we are, civilizational speaking, compared to where those people were. Which means that this is where these guys were, say, 100 years ago, 200, 300 years ago. Why are we still, with the benefit of knowledge we have gained from them, why do we want to reinvent the wheel? Why do we want to follow the path instead of flying over that path?
You talked about the Bible.
Yeah.
I want to ask, do you think that the Bible contains the true account of creation? And does it truly represent the the will of God? Does it truly represent the way of God? Or is it just a book that contains the Jewish culture and way of life?
Is this a complex question? It doesn't have an answer. Basically, the Bible contains the word of God. But not everything in the Bible is the word of God. There's also the word of the devil. Did you hear? There was a place in the Bible when he was asked the devil, what are you doing? He said, I'm going through and fro, seeking for whom to devour. That thing is not the word of God, it's the word of the devil. You get it? When he asked Jesus Christ to jump from a distance, it's the devil. So the Bible contains the word of God, the word of the devil, the word of men, and the word of women, and also the word of children. And it also encapsulates, because there is no way you will a book like that will be devoid of the Hebrew and the Jewish culture. It's also a book of history. At least it tells you about a time when the Romans conquered Jerusalem, when Jerusalem was an outpost of the Roman conqueror during the time of Caesar, which historians have already analyzed it, and they found out that it matched with the history of Rome during Caesar's reign. They found that. So it's also a book of history. It's also a book of culture, the Jewish culture. Because majority of some of the things you see there, some of the rules, some of the regulations were also Judaism. Because when Jesus Christ came, Jesus Christ was practicing Judaism. You get it? Both him and his disciples, they were practicing the
Judaism.
religion of their. It was after the death of Jesus Christ that Christianity was birthed. Because Jesus Christ brought a new perspective to what everybody has been doing. And he said, do it this way. Yes, this is what the law said, but I say, do it this way. Yes, this is what your ancestors said. This is what the Moses told you. But I'm telling you now, do it this way. So the the capturing, encapsulation of all those things that Jesus said was what gave birth to Christianity. So the Bible encapsulates everything. And also, when you read other books, when you read the Bhagavad Gita, you read the Quran, you read some of those things, you find out all those elements. That's why you can't divorce the Quran from Arabic culture. It's there. I was trying to ask somebody the other time. I say, it's not Islam, because I've been to different Islamic countries all over the world. I said, but the tea culture, you find out that it influences almost every society that is rooted in Islam. But the tea culture is not Islamic, it is Arabic. Because Arabs have that tea culture, both tea and coffee. They have it. It was even the Arabs that took coffee from Ethiopia to Europe. Coffee was discovered in Ethiopia, but it was regarded as the devil's drink, because when you finish taking coffee, the way it energizes you. So it was the Arabs that took it to Europe. And when the Pope tested it, he said, no, we are not going to allow these infidels
to enjoy this,
to control this drink. So the Pope beatified the drink. Let's not go there. So that's the way. So that's it.
How about, when Christians are asked to prove that, God truly exists, they share testimonies of how God fought their battles, dealt with their enemies, and all of that. And when you think about our ancestors, especially our Igbo ancestors, I don't know about others, you also hear or read where that they used to have a god, several gods.
They have
the Amadiohas and the rest.
Yeah.
So
polytheism.
Yes, who also dealt with their enemies, fought injustices, helped them to win their wars, and all of that. So does this mean that the same God our forefathers worshipped and the same God that the Christians are worshipping now, does it mean that they are the same? And if they are the same, why do we keep demonizing our forefathers? And call them...
I'm not part and parcel of those who demonize our forefathers. But let me give you an inkling. The Igbo, let's take African traditional religion. The Igbo denomination of the African traditional religion, which has that if you come in that cosmology, we have the Allah, the earth goddess, is a she. The preeminent Igbo deity is a she, which is the earth goddess. And we have the Amadioha, which some people say that Amadioha is the husband of the Allah. But some people think otherwise. Then you have different gods and goddesses. There's one that interests me because I wrote something during the New Yam Festival about the difference between Ihanjoko and Iriji. Because a lot of people mix the two together. Ihanjoko happens 7 days before the Iriji. Ihanjoko is the god of yam. You get it? So you appease it before the Mendelssohn. But there's something that's also interesting. Ihanjoko is a she. And is the god of yam. But according to Igbo culture and tradition, yam is a man's crop. Cocoyam is a woman's crop. But the god of cocoyam is a man. You get it? So there's some of these things. But the basic thing is also in that Igbo cosmology, we also had that Chiuku,
The Almighty God.
Oseborowa. You get it? So our ancestors acknowledge the fact that in spite of all these gods and goddesses, there is also the Chiuku. Some people call Chineke, God the Creator, Oseborowa, whom everybody bows. So we tell you that our ancestors believed that there is also a superior one, and that all these other ones are the emissaries of the superior one. You know that originally in Igbo cosmology, Ekwensu is not the devil. Ekwensu is not the devil.
Yeah.
It's just a kind of a mischievous,
Cunning.
mischievous deity that is not the devil. In fact, the concept of Satan does not exist in Igbo cosmology. The concept of Satan does not exist. It does not exist. It was Christianity that brought it. And when Christianity came, and that's why the same man that influenced both Bishop Ajayi Crowther, he also introduced that same concept in Yoruba cosmology, Eshu. Because the Yorubas also have a similar thing, Eshu, to our own Ekwensu, which when you dig deeper, you find out that these are not really Satan as in the devil, the one that fought with God and all those kind of, that causing all the havoc and all this kind of thing. We didn't have that. Our ancestors, we didn't have that in our destiny. We didn't have that. So those are some of the things. But the thing is that when Christianity came, there is also a need to create models that convey what Christianity believes in. And when you look at all the rascally deities and the rascally gods, so it was the Ekwensu that came closer in fitting the description of the devil. So with Dasham,
That title.
So that's why it became enemies and enemies and
God.
and this kind of thing. So that's where
So what exactly is the difference? Because I mean, the Igbo pattern of worship before Christianity, the cosmology, we have the Almighty God, which is Chukwu or Chineke. In Christianity, we have the Almighty God.
Yeah.
We don't have the other small gods. In some Christian beliefs, they believe that Jesus Christ is not God. In Catholic, for example, this Trinity, one God, we have Jesus, we have. So, if our forefathers believed in the Almighty God and then other smaller gods, and the Christians believe there's Jesus, there is Almighty God, there are angels, archangels, and all of that. So, what exactly? Why do we keep saying that our forefathers, that Christianity is superior to what our forefathers practiced?
Yeah, because we are saying so. That we are saying so does not mean that it is so. We are just saying so. Based on the limitations of our own knowledge and on understanding.
And what we choose to believe.
Yeah, what we choose to believe anyway.
Thank you. Your question. What's your name again?
My name is Adam.
Ada. Please, this is our Mommy Gio. When I saw her this morning, the first thing I called her is Mommy Gio. She looks like Mommy Gio.
Yes.
We are concerned to that.
So please just draw the mic close to yourself. Yeah, and ask your question. Make it brief. Just one.
Thank you so much, sir, for coming. I had a question I wrote down for you. Coming to this place, I had to change it. While you were talking, I had to change it again. So I'm going to go with the one that I just changed now.
The last one.
Yes. And it's revolving around dreams. Dream. Someone to dream and all of that. In Omenala way, paganism, people do Igbafa to tell you the future or something that is about to happen. So
Bringing it to Christianity, people believe that some persons have gift of vision, dream, to see what is about to happen in future, something like that. Why some persons kick against this? Some persons say it's fallacy, some persons don't believe in it. So I want to understand or know if there is something like dream, if people actually have this gift of seeing the future, just like in Omenala way, that when they do Ibafa, they see future, they see what happened. So in Christianity, are there people gifted with such things to dream and see what happens in future? Because some churches today, you see people telling you this is going to happen, this will happen. At the end of it all, it will not come to pass. Some do come to pass that it makes you to actually think that this is real. So I want to understand whether dream as a concept exists, whether people do have dream, vision, seeing what is about to happen tomorrow, and it eventually comes to pass. That's what I want to understand.
Okay. That's now we are delving into spiritualism, psychoanalysis, and yeah, if you studied Carl Gustav Jung, he did a lot of work in that area and stuff like that. Like there's a similar question I answered earlier. Some of these things are, you don't have a right or wrong answer to some of these things. And dream and dream interpretation has been there for a long time and across cultures. After all, Joseph dreamt. In the Bible, Joseph dreamt, and if you go through the Bible, there are also a lot of other dreams that were interpreted and ones that were not interpreted. And if you study other religious and other cultures, you also find a place of dream and interpreters of dream and stuff like that. In Igbo land, there was a place you used the word pagan. Well, that's what the other people called it, paganism and all this kind of thing, which descriptively I understand what you mean, in as much as it's not really, pagan like that. But the thing is just that, but in Igbo land, yes, the rule, and it's very interesting. It's very interesting because some of the things you do in the churches in Africa are things you can only see in the churches in Africa. Like all these things now, you go, you go to a pastor and the pastor will tell you this is going to happen, this. You go to some churches in Europe and North America, they don't do that kind of thing. So that is syncretism. We are bringing the things we are doing in our destiny, bringing it into our Christianity. It's kind of like all this enemy die. It's also part of our
fire prayer.
It's also part of our belief system in our cultures in Africa. We believe we also have enemies that are trying to kill us and all this kind of thing that have to do. So we transported those things into Christianity. That's why there are certain things. In my church, I've had in as much as we have a central doctrinal belief in the church, in our church, which every member of that church is supposed to adhere to. But I've attended that same church in 23 countries. And I've been able to see that even in this central belief system that is the foundation of this church, when you move from one country to another country, you will still see different spices.
Something changes.
Either these people add ginger their own, these people add garlic in their own, these people add salt in there. You see the influence of culture in some of these things. So as people move, they carry their atmosphere, they carry their culture, and they marry it with their destiny the way they are used to. Because we are used to going to the DBFA to find out what is the future, this is what we see, or this is what we see. So when we enter the church, we expect a pastor to also be our own DBFA to say that foretell or to foretell. But foretelling and foretelling is not really is In Christianity, we have it. People can prophesy. Prophesy upon you, prophesy on this. But the issue we also have is that it's not every prophecies that will come true. It's not. There are also prophecies. God said that this person is going to be this, and the person did not. The thing did not happen because God, as I said earlier, God has also given us the power to rule our world. There was that king that the prophet went to tell that he's going to die.
Hezekiah.
Hezekiah. So do you think God has not, before God sent the prophet, that God has not concluded the Hezekiah case and closed the chapter? He has concluded. But what changed God? Is it not Hezekiah that changed God?
Yes.
That's what I was telling earlier, that we also have a role to play in changing what happens to us. If Hezekiah had just sat down, okay, now they say I'm going to die. Kill me one lamb, fatten lamb, and all this kind. Let me eat it and die.
My last supper.
He will eat it and die. But he took a decision that changed the whole thing, and he lived for up to 15 years or so.
Yes.
Yeah, he did. So you find that that's the way. So there's a role human beings have to play for the thing that was spoken upon you. I remember I went to one church one time. I went to one church. The prophetess made some pronouncements, business pronouncements about me. I was just saying, my mind was just saying that, but that's not my area. This not the industry. It's not my area. It's not my industry. That this prophetess is prophesying now that I'm going to do this. It's not my area.
And you're not planning to
go
there.
Not where this prophecy is not coming to the area. But as I was going, I remember one thing. There was one thing my pastor preached some time ago, that we should be ready for any sector. He say, educate yourself, expand your horizon of your knowledge, be ready for everything. You don't know where God is going to place you. Then there's one man in my village that used to say something jokingly. He said that if he do sign of the cross in front, he would tell the wife to do it at his back, because we don't know where God is coming from. So when that woman said that, I didn't even take it. I didn't say that. I tell myself, I say, what will I lose to believe? I believed. So along the line, when somebody called me from South Africa, that there is this company in Turkey and they need to so this in. Do I know anybody who can help to link it up? That's how I started going into an industry that I knew nothing about, which was also in line with what that woman was saying. Though the first business did not work out, second one did not work out, but open doors keep on opening in that line of business. I say, God, if this is truly an area you want me to have this in, let this business work out, so that at least let me have a food. So you see how these things happen.
Yes.
So it's just the way. But the thing is just that, like, it's the failure of the first business that also led me to start examining things I could have done that I did not do. In as much as the company I contacted in Nigeria, the guy they introduced me to have a very bad communication attitude. You sent him WhatsApp message, it will be there for 48 hours, 70 hours, which is crazy for me. I hate it's crazy for me. And then you make a call, he will not respond, and all this kind of thing. Then I start asking myself, could I have done anything different? I contacted the company. They gave me a staff to work with me. And this staff is, could I have done anything different? So when I have a second opportunity, instead of relying on one source, I keep on, everybody I'm talking to, after discussing with them, I say, oh boy, there is these people that need so and so thing. Oh. If you know anywhere, people, and these are big quantity, not somebody, not retail, not wholesale. This is big. I keep on telling everyone, maybe that's why the first one fell. If I had opened my mouth and told a lot of people, you don't know. Sometimes in life, you don't know what you don't know. And you don't know who is the next link to open and give you an information that will open a door. So sometimes when you try to keep quiet and keep things to yourself, some of these things die with you. They won't manifest. But of which, if you had opened up and say so and so, you don't know whether that person, I was discussing with somebody. I was in Cotonou for a meeting. The meeting was delaying. So I was discussing with someone. We were discussing something else about Nigeria, Wahala, and all those kind of things. We were discussing Wahala. Because I was telling the person that there's a job I saw Judas Berger doing in Cotonou. The way they're doing it, I was talking about future proofing. They are doing this thing, and the ones they do in Nigeria, the person told me that it's what we signed that they will deliver to us in Nigeria. So why we are doing that thing? The Holy Spirit say, why not tell this guy about this thing? I told him, I say, look at this product, look at this product, so and so product. When he said he will call somebody, he called somebody. Within 5 minutes, he called me back. He said that when he called that person, the person started laughing. He said, why is he laughing? He said that the person said that he was discussing that thing with another of his business partner, that if he's looking for the source of this thing 5 minutes ago, you get that, you see it. So if I had not, you understand some of this. So sometimes people will tell you to incubate your dreams. Don't speak it out. Maybe there are some dreams you don't incubate. If you incubate it, it's like some of this chicken. If you had the privilege of growing up in the village, you will know that there are some fowls that sit on their egg without hatching them. Sometimes we'll go and chase them out and collect the eggs from them. Because the more they overstay there, the more the eggs will become spoiled. We'll remove the egg from them because they are unable to hatch it. So there are some dreams that if you keep it with yourself, you won't be able to hatch.